Welcome to the top floor with Vistage UAE. I'm Simon Lewis. I am a Vistage UAE chair and executive coach, and I run my own boutique consultancy focusing on strategy, leadership, and customer centricity. My guest today is a remarkable individual. After leaving the world of academia in India in 2006, where he studied aerospace engineering, his career took a turn and he found himself in the Far East's capital of finance, Hong Kong, where he was a trader. He did that for 3 years and then moved on to work between Oman and India in the same role. This experience formed the foundation for him to move into an executive role as a managing director of a finance company focusing on companies based in the Middle East, India, and Asia. In 2014, he moved to the UAE, and after investing in a company, he then became an angel investor. Now, some 10 years on, he's the founder and CEO of a multi-million dirham business called Polytrade. He's become a blockchain enthusiast and a renowned TEDx speaker. I'm delighted to welcome Piyush Gupta to the top floor. Piyush, it's great to have you with us today. How are you?
Thank you so much, Simon. It's really, kind of pleasure to be here, and I'm glad that you guys have started this in UAE. I guess it will be very beneficial for everyone who will listen to these podcasts and for us as well.
Okay, great. Piyush, I want to kick off just to really focus on the blockchain world by understanding what initially drew you to it and how did you navigate the early stages in this dynamic and rapidly evolving industry?
Right. So, Simon, I think, this answer lies into the very fact of, anybody who understands the inefficiencies in our Web2 world, anybody who understands that what disruption means. Uh, I think blockchain is not a alien thing for them, right? Because the moment blockchain has been introduced as a concept to me, I have realized that these efficiencies could be eradicated in a much simpler way, and a much larger ecosystem in financial world could be built on top of what is existing there, right? So the transition was pretty much smooth. I got to meet some profound founders who are building big time in blockchain space, and you learn from learned people, right? So that's what happens. That's what happened. I managed to meet Sandeep Nailwal, who is founder of Polygon, which is a multi-billion-dollar company today. And just 45 minutes sitting with him, and I realized that this is the path I want to take going forward. And the things which used to bother me in our normal world in terms of efficiencies, like inefficiencies, fraud, scams, I knew that this could be one potential solution to eradicate that. So the transition was smooth. I was lucky I found right team members who understood blockchain, who made my journey into blockchain smooth and seamless. But yeah, that's the story.
That's one, and look, there's a couple of key takeouts from that straight away. The fact that you're willing to learn from experts and getting the right people around you to ensure your
Correct.
success. I like that. And at Vistage, we regularly discuss leadership challenges, and the shared wisdom around the table enables members to make better decisions, be better leaders,
Sure.
and achieve better results. So, as a young CEO in the blockchain space, I'd like to understand what are some of the biggest leadership challenges you face and how do you overcome them?
I mean, one of the biggest challenges I would still face and has been facing is that I'm not a tech founder, right? I come from business background. For me, so for me, technology is an enabler, right? I understand that I can use this piece of tech to solve this piece of problem, right? That part is easy for me to understand. But to build that tech, as I mentioned, you need really perfect people who could understand your thought process and actually convert it into a product, right? So I think that challenge will always be there. And again, it's true with every professional, be it a medical field. Every day the science is innovating, and every doctor needs to be updated about current developments in the economy. Same thing goes to any industry. Blockchain is the fastest evolving industry today. Um, we funnily call that 3 months in blockchain is equivalent to a year in normal world. The pace
Mm.
of blockchain is that crazy. So if you miss 3 months without learning, you are actually a year behind everybody.
Wow.
So So it's imperative that if we meet sometime, I can show you my desktop and you would see 20-25 different tabs are open with a lot of new things which still needs to be read, understood, and figure out that how could we use that into our business. So biggest challenge would always be catching up with the growing tech and knowing, all the technological terms which I'm not very used to. So
I'd like to dig a little bit deeper on that. Could you share with us a specific moment or decision that significantly shaped your leadership style or approach to problem solving the blockchain industry?
I mean, Simon, I would categorize myself as a founder who works with a plan, right? So when I was moving into Web3, I knew exactly what I was building. Um, I didn't know how much time would it take, but I knew exactly when I reached that stage what would be the next big thing for me, right? Today, as we speak, I have achieved second platform or second tier of my roadmap, right? And I can tell you this is tip of the iceberg. What stays below it is gonna blow people's mind, right? For me, next 1 year is the most critical year of the growth journey. We will be one of the biggest real world asset tokenization plays into the industry, right? So, um, I mean, one specific challenge I could always point out is, to pass on this roadmap's grand vision to everybody in team who matters, right? Sitting with team members and making them understand that why I'm thinking 10 steps ahead and where will it take us. It's not easy for everybody to comprehend that, right? There are always day-to-day problems which they are solving, right? So for them to understand that, oh wow, Piyush is thinking about a year down the line of having a multi-billion dollar enterprise. Oh, how would we reach there, right? I mean, at sometimes probably they think that I'm crazy, right? But then to keep them aligned with my vision, I think that is always a very challenging thing I faced.
And let's talk about that a little bit more. How do you actually keep them aligned with your vision?
Constant communication, showing them exactly what this large vision means for all of us and the economy and the industry, right? How do you, and I think it's easy to explain to, I call them kids, right? Because they're all very young. Blockchain is like full of young people, right? So I call them kids, and I always tell kids that learn from the learn from the past, see where we are today. Now think that this will be the past and where we will be in future, right? From a single asset tokenization, Polytrade has become an aggregation platform today. From selling 20, 30, 40 invoices, today we have 20,000 plus assets on our marketplace, right?
Wow.
So to make them understand that from a $5 million market cap company or a $5 million capitalization company, today we are $150 million company, right? So from here to a $1 billion journey would be equally interesting. So I think it's a good comparison when they look back a year back and where we are today. I think it's somehow makes sense to them that yes, the same way if we project our future, it's not a tough journey. We will reach there. So you sit and you talk. I think that's the only way you can achieve
And
this.
I think that is so key. I think that's so key because often in organizations, they will create their vision, they'll create their values, and then just leave them because they think everybody
Yeah.
understands them and everybody's got it and everybody
Yeah.
can carry on. But the fact that you're taking time to sit down and almost reinforce this is the direction we're in, this is the vision we're following, and here's your role in it. Congratulations on that and kudos because that's obviously really helping.
But one thing I would like to add, Simons, the one of the tough pills to digest. I don't know it's good or bad, but being a single founder, it comes with all these tremendous challenges. And for me, I've always thought that I will bring few people from my organization and bring them to my level so that I will always call them my co-founders, right? For me, getting co-founder tag is not important. What have you done to the organization which has actually made you eligible for that tag, right? So as we speak, I'm actually grooming a couple of kids who probably would see that aspect coming soon to their life, right? And then then when you sail together, it's a different fun, right? Being a single founder has its advantages. Of course, I have the larger position, I have the control, I have the autonomy, everything. But then I handle the burden all by myself. If it's a team of close-knit founders, I think the things you share responsibilities, you share vision. So yeah,
And absolutely, and you're building your legacy, and obviously making sure you're getting the right people in the right place who can make the right decisions to deliver
correct.
the results that you're looking. That's important. And leading a company in a cutting edge, field like blockchain requires constant adaptation, innovation. How do you stay ahead of the curve and ensure that Polytrade remains at the forefront of technical advances?
I mean, it's not a very difficult thing, Simon, especially given the blockchain is not very old industry. We are still at the early stages of, or I would say infancy of the growth of blockchain, right? Um, there are gaps everywhere. There is a lot to grab, right? And I'm happy to say that being a leader in what we are doing today, um, we could we could have a bird's eye view of the whole thing, and we could very easily pick pieces that yes, this is something which is needed. This is something which is needed. Nobody is doing that, and only we are capable of doing that, right? So I think that exercise is a daily constant in our life, right? Every day, as I mentioned, reading new stacks which are coming, reading new chains which are coming, what's happening in tokenization industry, why so many regulations are there. You keep updating yourself, and automatically you start seeing that the blurry sphere starts becoming bigger and bigger, right? So I think that keeps me very motivated all the time because there's so much happening, Simon. If you speak to Web3 founders, you would be blown off with the amount of knowledge and tech they are building, right? I think that is the most critical aspect of us keeping at pace and probably beating the competition all the time.
Right. Okay. And the involvement of your people in that learning as well, I dare say, becomes a real motivator for them.
Oh, 100%. Yesterday we had a board meeting where I was telling my senior employees that we need to build this and said, okay, fine. So where do we start? I mean, that's the first question, right? Because if we deep dive into the whole thing, it will take us months. We don't have months because here months becomes years. So then what do we do? So we called up an expert. We sat with him for 1 hour. We asked him to give us some bullet points to start our journey, right? The guy was an amazing guy. He came, he sat with us for 1 hour. He gave us 20 bullet points and said, guys, if you get these 20 bullet points in your head, nobody can stop you. So I
Wow.
think it becomes very important for me to make such people presentable, available for my team who are more smarter than us, who are more technically equipped than us, so that they can give us some direction. I always believe, Simon, it's okay to put somebody on the podium and step down for a minute, right? And listen to that person because you cannot know everything. And that one of the biggest thing I have always found people who get cocky in their positions, they start thinking that they know everything, right? And I think that's the point of their first point of failure. Then the downward trend starts in their life. So we do this. I tell everybody in my team that if you have learned something new, I'll make you a CEO for 1 day, right? Call everybody.
Wow.
Please teach us.
Interesting.
Please do teach us, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're sitting in a CEO's position, you would understand that how important it is first to make everybody on the same page, to bring everybody on the same page. Um, we have people who are doing their first job with us, right? I have to keep them motivated that they will call it as first and last job in their life, right? I never want to let anybody leave. So it sometimes become emotional for me, necessarily so because I started from ground zero and built it up today. So I want to give that same emotional download to these leadership people that tomorrow you will be leaders behind me, and I want you to feel the same way for everybody in the organization, right? So these are some values, and again we are very proud that our culture in the company is very very strong, very strong culture.
Um, and look, what you've highlighted is a nice segue, which was going to be my next question around vulnerability. And it's you can't be good at everything. and there is always somebody better than you. And being vulnerable to actually bring them in and actually use them as a learning opportunity is great. And many young entrepreneurs, I think, and struggle with that imposter syndrome or doubt their abilities, as you sort of just highlighted. And one thing in Vistage, we have seasoned C-suite members who show vulnerability and highlight, how lonely it is at the top, because they've got to make decisions. Sometimes they've got nobody to go to bounce that decision off. We call that executive isolation. Have you ever experienced moments of self-doubt as a CEO? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Um, I know the answer to this. I'm just trying to find right words because yes, this has happened many times, right? Suddenly your company token price is moving like crazy, and we reached $300 million valuation, and then markets crashed, and we came back to 150. And at that position, you start feeling that everybody's just looking at you. Everybody's just saying good things about you. Everybody's saying that you guys have done it, right? You have achieved it. Uh, to keep myself away from all this, and come back to my laptop and start reading. I have from day one created a very strong council. In our normal word, we call them board of directors, but I call them council members. Right? These council members have no vested interest in the company. I don't pay them. I've made sure that they have some skin in the game, so they have invested in my company. But these are the people who are maybe financially not bigger than us, but depth of their knowledge, their connections, their humbleness, their keeping things on the ground is an amazing ability. So every time I have something new in my head, I would first knock those doors, right? And I'll kind of dump my brains in front of them and let them bash me badly, right? Let them tell me that this is crap, you're stupid, I'm happy to hear that. And then out of probably 20 ideas or 20 discussions, you come out with two, which is mutually agreed by everyone. And then I am well prepared to come back to my team and work on those two ideas, right? So it is important to have people. I don't know, you followed Robin Sharma. Robin Sharma was a
Yes.
world-class author, right? I've attended him for 4 years back to back in Canada, attending his annual summit. And one thing which he said always stays with me is that look around you in the room you are, right? If you are the smartest in the room, please leave the room immediately, right? So surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. Then there is this hunger of always learning from them stays, right? The day you realize that in this room I am the only one talking, right? That is the time you should leave the room. So some of his teachings actually have changed my life. So this is one of the big reasons I keep counsel around me.
And I mean, that's very humble of you to say that. My experience in leadership, um, formal experience, first came at the age of 18. I went to an establishment whose motto I still live by today, and that's serve to lead. And your ability to serve the people that you are leading actually makes it a lot easier
Mm,
than if you want managing them from the top down and expecting them just to follow instructions, which is
for sure.
often going to be a challenge.
Couldn't agree more.
Building a successful company often involves taking risks. Can you discuss a particular risky decision, that you made as CEO of Polytrade, and ultimately, did it pay off?
So I think blockchain is a space where we are literally taking these risky decisions every day, right? But I mean, if you look at the larger span of time, the biggest and the most risky decision I ever took was moving from my successful Web2 business into Web3, right? That transition means you're shutting off millions of dollars of revenue coming in, a established business, established reputation in the market, and with zero knowledge of tech, what we are getting into, right? If this fails, if this doesn't work, you're understanding that you're erasing your last 15 years of career, right? Building again from zero is not going to be easy. It's never going to be easy. And the taste of failure would probably make it more sour because you have left a successful business and you started something and it didn't work, right? So I think that was probably one of the most riskiest thing I would say that I did. And then after that, I wouldn't say that I've done any such crazy things, because this path was pretty much the roadmap, which I always say is carved out beautifully from last 3 years to next 3 years, right? So we know exactly at what point where we will be, right? So I think the risk taking has gone down significantly once you have a roadmap.
And as you mentioned your roadmap a couple of times, and obviously it's one that you use to keep the focus for your team. It's one that you use to measure your business by and make sure it's on track.
Sure.
Do you update that roadmap? Do you revisit it and check that it's still the right roadmap? Tell me more.
So in blockchain, I'll take an analogy. There are a couple of different types of blockchains. There's monolithic and there is modular, right? A monolithic blockchain is where nothing can be altered. If 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 there is a set of data points, every data point has to be updated to move the chain, to move the discussion, right? And that is why it has become very difficult, very congested, very expensive, blah blah blah. Scalability is a problem. And then there came modular. Modular is a blockchain where modules are working in tandem with each other, right? So each module is a separate chain in altogether. In a way, I'm just kind of giving you an analogy, and that's how our roadmaps are. So we think that we are building everything in form of Lego pieces, and each Lego piece is removable. Each Lego piece can be reinstated, right? So
Okay.
if there are 20 moving parts in the business plan, in the roadmap, at any point, any particular part can be removed, modified, reinstalled, but the larger vision of the company should not ever change, right? So I know exactly how big we will be in 3 years in terms of our leadership in the industry. But to reach to that stage, probably there will be few iterations here and there, right? But yeah, end goal should be very clear for me.
Okay. So look, as a leader, you know and I know it's crucial to foster a strong company culture. In Vistage, for example, our values are trust, caring, challenging, and growth. Yeah. How do you cultivate a culture of innovation, collaboration, resilience within Polytrade, especially considering, the blockchain industry, and as you mentioned, it's very volatile.
Simon, what I learned from my dad would probably I would pass on to my kids, right? I believe that theory has made us live all these years, survive on this planet, what we learned from our ancestors, right? I start thinking company also like a like a family, right? So everything which I believe passes on to my next set of leaders, and they start imbibing it into their teams, right? So literally sitting on the top, if I look down, everybody in the organization, every hierarchy feels the same way about their immediate leader, feels the same way about the ethos in the company, feels same emotional connect to everybody, including me, whether I talk to them or not on a daily basis. I think uh, forget about everything, the whole technical expertise, the whole moving with the roadmap. That's easy. That discussion is easy with the team members, right? Make them feel for this company that this is my company, right? I think that is one thing which we have achieved beautifully. We had an offsite where we invited everybody from US, India, Middle East to in Dubai, and we went to Ritz-Carlton in Ras Al Khaimah, and we had this one session where everybody has to come up and talk for 5 minutes about their journey in Polytrade. The most heartful, emotional moment where I almost cried was the youngest person in the team, a girl, said that this was my first job, and you guys have pampered and spoilt me so much that I can't think of going to any other organization, right? that was one moment where I had goosebumps, where I was like literally about to cry. Like, you know, if and the more happiness was that this person is the lowest tier in the whole organization, and if she feels the same way, then I think I have done my part, right? So that's probably I'll
So just remind us, what are your values that you work by in Polytrade?
uh, nobody is lesser than anybody, right? And I whenever we sit across team, I always tell them that you have the toughest, you have the most complicated machine in your hand, which is a computer, right? Um, One single piece is a keyboard, one key, if it is missing, this keyboard becomes useless, this computer becomes useless, right? So don't ever forget that that person who is putting the key there is the most important person in the whole organization, right? So I think that responsibility, taking ownership, I think these are a couple of things which goes down really, really deep into the company.
Okay, very good, interesting. So, you talked about the rapid pace of technical change, and failure is often inevitable. Can you share with us a failure or setback you experienced in your journey as CEO, and what valuable lessons did you get from it?
That answer lies into our success, because for 3 years we have been building, our keeping our heads down without looking at the markets. We are not priced rightly in the market, right? Our valuation is like $5-6 million. And why? We are doing everything correct. We're doing everything by the books, right? So why market is not pricing us, valuing us? Uh, I think that one, I wouldn't call it failure, but that lack of passing the information to the community, telling the world what we are doing in the right utmost manner so that they understand what we are doing. I think that learning happened pretty late in the cycle. So if you open our charts, you would say that whole run from 6 million to $300 million company happened in a span of last 6 to 8 months, right? And it was like that magic wand you suddenly got in your hand, and you realize that, oh, I know how this works, right? And then everybody in the office starts feeling the same way, that, oh, we know the crack, we know what needs to be communicated, right? And coming back to that iceberg analogy, public only sees the tip of the iceberg, but that tip has to be the sexiest piece of your iceberg, right? Because that's what being valued. Nobody values the work which is happening behind the curtains, which is down there, because
Mm.
people see only this, right? I think that is something which we lagged for a longest period of time in this organization, and I'm so happy that we got it right, and we stick to it now.
Well done, you. And have you got some examples then of how you've benefited your customers?
Web3 is very new, Simon. I would say that one of the biggest challenges we all face today in Web3 is lack of demand, because adoption is happening at an insane pace, but till it impacts yours and my life on a day-to-day basis, we are not yet
Mm.
there, right?
Right.
When you pick up your phone and order food on Talabat, is it on blockchain? Not yet. When your kids are coming from school, is their education happening on blockchain? Not yet, right? So for me, we still lack customers. One of the biggest things I would say is that we lack customers. We lack adoption. When my dad starts saying that, oh, where the money got debited from my BTC wallet, I would be the happiest that day, right? So what we are building today is a very consumer-facing product. What we are building today is an infrastructure where people can come and start building their products on top of us. But I would still say that there are more builders than consumers. Okay, we are all building for a future where people would come and use us. So,
Right. Okay.
so that experience is yet to be earned or learned, where we can say that yes, we have made our customers happy.
So how do you balance that? Because obviously you're doing lots of innovation, and you're making things happen. But also, because of the very nature of blockchain, it's a disruptor to the normal way of doing business. And there needs to be, I think, that consumer confidence that it will be stable, it will be reliable. So how do you communicate that in Polytrade's operations to the customer?
Yeah, again, I believe in analogies. I'll give you a simple analogy. If I'm using this air condition in this room, as a user, all that I care is there is a button which can be used to operate this AC, right? If somebody tells me that, oh, there are these modules inside and there is this thin line and blah, 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 there's a gas, I would lose my interest. And I would probably tell him to please leave, right? Because I wanted AC, give me the control and give me the AC and please leave, right? Same is happening with our tech in blockchain. People are building, but we need to understand that a consumer doesn't care what and how. What he cares is, I need to press a button and my thing should be done, right? I can always tell him, benefits of using this in this manner. That, oh, you're using a LV bag. That LV bag can be fake, right? If you would have bought it from this platform, it was authenticated on blockchain so that you're buying a genuine product. I think that much he would appreciate and understand. But if I tell him, how did I do that authentication? There were 20 blocks, 20 people validated it. It's like, get out, right? So that is what is being needed. We need to reach to consumers' daily life, build our products with the UI UX, which is not complicated for them, which is mundane for them, which is low key for them, right? A phone needs to be used as a phone, not a device opening up and seeing all the chips there, right? So I think we are all building towards it. I have utmost respect to blockchain founders because I know they are building a very heavy tech, but all they need to understand and learn is that a user, a consumer, doesn't care. He needs his simple interface. He needs to press a button and things should happen. So
That's
that's what we're doing.
fascinating. Yeah, that's fascinating because I mean, people sort of, it's like when you buy a car, isn't it? You want to know just a little bit about the technology, not the fact that you get in
Yeah,
and drive it,
yeah,
but you just want to
exactly.
be so you can talk about it to your friends, so you can talk about it and say, "Hey,
Of
look what I've
course.
got." I get that. I get that. Finally, let's look at your own experience and the lessons learned leading Polytrade. What advice would you give to other young CEOs about to embark, possibly on a similar and to
Simon, I've lost last 15 seconds of your voice. If you could
okay,
repeat the last question.
yeah, sure. Finally, based on your own experience and lessons learned leading Polytrade, what advice would you give to other young CEOs or aspiring leaders looking to make their mark in the blockchain space?
If you're not a hardcore tech founder, and if you are wanting to leverage this technology, always think that this is the enabler, right? You need to learn, no doubt about that, but you need to find right set of people in your team who could deliver your vision. If you tell me today to write 3 pieces of code, Simon, I'll fail miserably, right? But I have people who write 3,000 pieces of code every day, right?
Wow.
So you need to get those people who actually understand your vision and translates it. That's one. Second, always build for consumer. Do not build a product which is unusable, right? Don't build a complicated machine which cannot be operated by a common person, right? So I think these are two things if you keep in mind, you will, because then you know what your end journey is. If you know your end journey, you can have a beautiful roadmap in front of you. And then if you have right people with you, that roadmap can be very easily achieved, right? So I think this probably is the easiest advice I could throw at somebody.
Piyush, it's been a pleasure to host you on the top floor today with Vistage UAE, and I thank you for sharing your thoughts and wisdom on leadership
Thank
in
you
the
so
world
much,
of
Simon.
blockchain. It's an exciting world. It's going to grow. It's going to be innovative. It's going to be something which I think as you say, in the next sort of 3 years, it's going to start to really take a hold in how we do our
Oh, yeah.
work and business today. I wish
Yes,
you
we are already.
and Polytrade all the very best for the future. It's great.
Thank you so much, Simon. That's what I wanted to say, that you guys are doing a great job by bringing such topics which are yet less understood to the masses. That would help us in solving our purpose. So thank you so much again.
Okay, I hope so. Thank you very much.